Hello, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to How to Prevent and Reverse Disease Through Healthy Nutrition, Choosing and Preparing Healthy Foods. This program is sponsored by Prisma Health and delivered to you by the Cancer Survivors Park Alliance. Others are just tuning in now, so I'll give one more reminder about please turn off your microphone and your camera. This will allow all of us to avoid any background distraction. My name is Rose Mihaly. I'm a member of the Cancer Survivors Park Board, and I will serve as moderator of this evening's program. During the program, family and lifestyle medicine physician Dr. Beth Motley and Greenville area restaurant owners Deborah Bouts of Sunbelly Cafe and Wendy Lynam of Topsoil will discuss how food choices can harm or help your risk for cancer. Like so many of us who have lost a loved one or battled the disease ourselves, each of these presenters has their own cancer survivor's story. They can relate to your interest in this topic. In Greenville, we are very fortunate to have an ever-increasing number of excellent plant-based resources in our community. Many physicians are encouraging the approaches Dr. Motley will highlight, and various restaurants and grocers offer choices that support healthy nutrition. We are very happy to have our three presenters with us this evening. They are part of a much larger community within Greenville, which we are grateful for. In the program, you will learn about dietary recommendations, practical, simple recipes for preparing to introduce plant-based choices, and helpful tips for grocery shopping, seasoning food to create tasty and satisfying flavor, and how to make healthy selections when eating out. Later in the program, we will answer your questions. Throughout the program, please use the chat room to submit your questions. We will be monitoring those throughout the program, and during the question and answer session, we will answer as many of those questions as time allows. Remember to stay on all the way to the end, and we will close promptly at 6:30. At the end of the program, we will draw the winner for the 2 complimentary tickets to the Topsoil Supper Club March 2021 plant-based dinner. And one more time, for those of you who are just joining, if I could ask you to please turn off your microphones and your cameras, and to leave those off throughout the program. When it is time for each speaker to join, we will allow those individuals to open their camera and microphone. As a reminder, this program will be recorded, and it will be posted on the Cancer Survivors Park Alliance website tomorrow. This will allow you an opportunity to watch again and to share it with others who may benefit from watching and listening. In addition to the video, we will also submit several reference materials, which include recipes, as well as a very informative booklet that will assist you with information regarding plant-based eating. At this time, I am very pleased to introduce our speakers. We will begin this evening with Dr. Beth Motley. She is a dual board family medicine and lifestyle medicine physician with Prisma Health. She is a faculty member at USC School of Medicine in Greenville and serves on several American College of Lifestyle Medicine committees and is an advocate for dietary prevention and reversal of disease in our community. I can personally attest to the success of following her instructions. Deborah Bouts is the owner and founder of Sunbelly Cafe in Greenville. Her interest in nourishing others for the better was inspired by her grandmother, whose kitchen was a beehive of activity and always open to others. No one ever left hungry. Deb enjoyed the pleasure of cooking with her grandmother and took note of the satisfactions others experienced while enjoying the hospitality and nourishment her grandmother shared. Deb will share more about the influence her family has had on recipes and her commitment to nourishing those who frequent her Sunbelly Cafe. Wendy Lynam is co-owner and founder of Topsoil Restaurant in Travelers Rest. This fine dining, plant-forward, protein particular restaurant is in the former site of the well-known Williams hardware store. Wendy and her partners take pride in working collaboratively with local farmers to inspire healthier communities by connecting people to real food. They also operate their own farm and incorporate their fresh produce to provide in-season flavor to their chef-prepared meals. Wendy and Chef Adam Cook will join the program from Topsoil. Before I turn the program over to Dr. Motley, one last request, please, everyone, leave your microphones and cameras off. We will take your questions throughout the program from the chat room, and we will respond to as many as possible during the Q&A section. Thank you for joining, and please now allow me to turn the program to Dr. Beth Motley.
All right, thank you, Rose. Let's see. Okay. All right, you can all see that, right? I'm assuming so, unless I hear otherwise. So we are going to talk about kicking cancer with a plant-based diet. And as we know, when it comes to diet, the way we can eat to prevent and reverse cancer is the same way we can eat to prevent all sorts of chronic disease. So these are the three hats I wear. So I am a normal primary care doctor within Prisma. My training is in family medicine, so I'm just a typical doctor who treats all sorts of routine problems. Second hat I wear is my lifestyle medicine hat. So my subspecialty is lifestyle medicine. And this is the medical group that focuses on using diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, etc., to prevent and reverse disease. So my focus really is on nutrition because I find that to be the biggest area of confusion. We all know we need to exercise, we all know we need to sleep, but when it comes to nutrition, we have a lot of really motivated people who may not have the right information and so are not able to sort of optimize their health. The third hat I wear is the mom hat. Don't be deceived, things are rarely this calm actually around the house. So these are my two little boys, and I also have a little 7-year-old girl. And she is really not your typical 7-year-old girl. She is a cancer survivor herself. So she survived her mother's cancer in utero. Her mother, Lindsay, was diagnosed with colon cancer at age 26, delivered a healthy baby girl, and passed away only a few years later. So that is why no matter what hat I am wearing, my passion is really to help people to fight cancer. So there's always a lot of conversation about what is the best diet, and everyone seems to be seeking this pinnacle, this best diet that must exist. But, you know, I'm not sure there really is one best diet. So US News and World Report comes out with a list of rankings every year of the best diet. But how can you really rank what a best diet is without discussing your goals? So maybe someone's goal is weight loss. And actually, when we talk about diets, a lot of time the conversation is about weight loss. And if you want to lose weight, you can follow a variety of diets to help achieve that, right? You can do the keto diet, South Beach diet, lemonade diet. There's 1,000 diets. I think there's even a cookie diet out there. So if your goal is weight loss, there's a wide array of diets you can follow. So maybe someone's goal is enjoying the last few weeks of life. So maybe someone's on hospice, you know, at that point, you can eat whatever you want, right? If that's your goal, go ahead, eat whatever you want. If your goal is avoidance of chronic disease, that's where this group of diets gets a lot more narrow. And that's really where the American College of Lifestyle Medicine focuses. So dietary prevention and reversal of disease. And within the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, we really focus the most on heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, because these are the three areas that we see the most in the office. All right. So the Blue Zones Project, this was by Dan Buttner of National Geographic's. Hold on a sec here. Let me see if there's a way to turn my camera on as well. I'm not sure, but I'll work on that. So the Blue Zones Project, this was Dan Buttner of National Geographic's, and he went around the world to try to find those regions that had the most longevity and the least chronic disease. So he identified 5 different areas: Costa Rica, Japan, Italy, Greece, and our local claim to fame, Loma Linda, California. So what all these places had in common is they generally followed a more plant-based diet. So 95% of their calories at least coming from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans. And these communities had some of the lowest cancer rates, and not only cancer, but the lowest chronic disease rates, which is what allowed them to live lives to 100 years and beyond. And of course, after this Zoom lecture, Greenville, South Carolina is going to be the 6th blue zone. So a lot of people say, okay, well, that's all well and good, but I have a family history of cancer. So how can I possibly make it to 100? So inherited genetic mutations play a major role in only about 5 to 10% of cancers. People really put a lot of stock in genetics, and genetics are important, but I think a lot of times people overblow how important genetics really are. So that leaves us with 90 to 95% of all cancers that are largely caused by lifestyle and environmental factors. And that's really what we're going to focus on. So the question then is, how can I eat to best avoid cancer and other chronic disease? So we have several leading health authorities that all recommend a more plant-based eating style. So how does a plant-based diet fight cancer? Now, when it comes to obesity, overweight, it's kind of intuitive that we eat junk food and that causes us to gain weight. That makes sense to people. But when it comes to diet, it's not as intuitive. How does diet influence cancer risk? That's just not as intuitive to people. So one mechanism is through phytochemicals. So phyto means plant. So these are plant chemicals. So phytochemicals give plants their color and flavor, and they protect from infection and predators. So there are many mechanisms by which a plant-based diet protects against cancer, but this is one of the primary ones. So these phytochemicals include lycopene, beta-carotene, vitamin C, folate, indoles, allyl sulfides, anthocyanins, resveratrol, bunch of words you don't need to remember, but that can all be summed up as antioxidants. So these chemicals that give plants their color are antioxidants. So the more rich in color our fruits and vegetables are, generally the higher they are in antioxidants. So phytochemicals are antioxidants. Antioxidants reduce inflammation, and reducing inflammation helps us to fight cancer. So let's look at this chart of nutrient density per calorie. So nutrient density basically means vitamins and minerals per calorie. So the more nutrient dense something is, the more rich it is in vitamins and minerals. And when something is richer in vitamins and minerals, that equates to richer in antioxidants, which we know means more anti-inflammatory. So if you draw a line right here, you will see that above the line is the more animal-based foods, and below the line is our more plant-based foods. So all the way at the bottom are our leafy green vegetables. And of course, we can't sustain ourselves on leafy green vegetables alone. We need to eat a variety of those foods. Going up from there, the beans, fruits, starchy vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, etc. So as a whole, those foods are going to be very nutrient dense. And on top of that, we see the animal-based foods, the meat, cheese, eggs, dairy, etc., that are just going to be very low in nutrient density, low in antioxidants, and not as protective against cancer. So there's often this misconception, oh, plant-based diets, like you're going to be so deficient in all sorts of things, you're going to have to take multivitamins, but that's not the case at all. It's actually people who eat more of the animal-based foods that are going to be consuming diets that are lower in vitamins and minerals overall. So plant-based foods are more nutrient dense, contain more vitamins and minerals, which makes them more antioxidant rich, more anti-inflammatory, and better able to fight cancer. So the American Institute for Cancer Research and the American Cancer Society agree on a few things. They recommend a more plant-based diet in general. They tell us to maintain a healthy weight. People with a normal BMI have a lower risk of cancer overall. They tell us to limit red and processed meat, eat more fruits and veggies, and choose whole grains over refined grains. And these are pretty general recommendations. I'd say we'd get bipartisan support for most of these items. So the World Health Organization goes a step further, and they classify processed meat as a group 1 carcinogen and red meat as a probable carcinogen. So Tobacco is also a group 1 carcinogen. So we know with as much certainty that processed meat is linked to cancer just the way tobacco is linked to cancer. So processed meat, hot dogs, ham, bacon, all that delicious stuff, and also deli meats. We really think of deli meats as like a pretty benign food, but deli meats are processed meats and are going to be a group 1 carcinogen. Same thing with red meat, beef, lamb, pork, veal, etc. are considered probable carcinogens. Okay, so I've told you a lot about what not to eat, but let's talk about what exactly is a plant-based diet. So a plant-based diet really is a spectrum. So on one end, we have the standard American diet. We all are familiar with that. Next step is Flexitarian. I say this is the person who sort of likes the idea of plant-based, but isn't really ready to jump in yet. Then we have Pescetarian. So this is someone who still eats fish in addition to eggs, dairy, and all sorts of plant-based foods. Vegetarian is not going to eat any meat, any chicken, any fish, but will eat eggs and dairy. Vegan, no animal products at all, but you can still drink Coca-Cola and eat Oreos and all sorts of vegan junk food. And then the furthest would be whole foods plant-based. So what is whole foods plant-based? Whole foods simply means single ingredient foods, unprocessed or minimally processed as they exist in nature. Plant-based in its broadest sense, meaning at least 95% of calories coming from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans. And if you sort of do the math and presume someone's getting, we'll say 2,000 calories a day, this means less than 100 calories per day or less than 700 calories per week coming from animal-based foods. So that adds up pretty quickly. So as we get more strict, we see the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. That's where they're positioned more at whole foods plant-based. And that's also what I preach in my practice. So I'm always going to preach more strict with the understanding that people may meet me where they want to meet me along the spectrum. The American Cancer Society and the American Institute for Cancer Research are a little more liberal. They will promote anything from flexitarian all the way to whole foods plant-based. And of course, the more strict we are, the more effective we are at not only preventing and reversing the cancer process, but also heart disease, diabetes, inflammatory disease, and all sorts of other chronic disease. And of course, the more strict we get, the less convenient it is. So no, it is not convenient to be healthy in the United States. That is just something we will all need to accept. So what should I eat? What does a plant-based diet really look like? No, this is not a rabbit food diet. And no, you cannot eat the rabbit. Someone asked me that in one of my talks. This is more what a plant-based diet looks like. Lentil tacos, grain bowls, mixed bean chili, loaded sweet potatoes, vegetable tamales, spinach and mushroom grits, rice and beans, collards, black-eyed peas, sweet potato, black bean quesadillas, stuffed peppers. So this is not a rabbit food diet. Now, I always say I am a functional eater. My husband, he is the foodie. He loves to cook and make things that are absolutely delicious. I moved here to Greenville in 2014 in my residency. I was so busy. I did not have time to make anything fancy, and I just don't really care as much to make something delicious. I would rather spend my time sleeping. So this is pretty much my staple diet. It was microwave sweet potatoes, canned beans, frozen vegetables. So if you're a foodie, you can make it fancy. If you want something real simple to get through the day like me, you can find some real simple approaches to plant-based. So the question people always ask is, should I count calories? So a plant-based diet in general, while it is very nutrient dense, it is very low in calorie density. So that means per given weight of food, we have many fewer calories than we would on a standard American diet. And a plant-based diet is also very high in fiber. So fiber is only found in plant-based foods. So when we switch to a more plant-based diet, we are really maximizing our fiber consumption. So when we follow a plant-based diet, people tend to lose weight naturally without having to count calories. There's a lot of questions people have about plant-based diets. And one of the biggest ones is, what about protein? So be careful you don't end up protein deficient. No, that is absolutely ridiculous. You will not end up protein deficient on a plant-based diet. It is a common myth that plant foods are missing some amino acids. So all plant foods contain all of the essential amino acids. You can go to the USDA database, look up almost every food and look up the essential amino acid content. All plant foods contain all of the essential amino acids. We do not need to complement proteins to ensure proper nutrition. So I think the only food that is missing an amino acid is gelatin, which is missing lysine, which isn't even a plant-based food. So that is a common misconception. So then people say, oh, well, you know, what about alcohol? It's October, it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're gonna get some pink martinis. Ah, no, this just kills me also. It's so counterproductive. So alcohol is not protective against cancer. So the World Health Organization classifies alcohol as a definitive breast carcinogen and explains that no amount of alcohol is safe. So drinking a bottle of wine per week is equivalent to smoking about 5 to 10 cigarettes in terms of absolute cancer risk. So while alcohol consumption is much more socially acceptable than smoking cigarettes, it really may be similarly risky when it comes to cancer risk. So what about sugar? So it is a myth that sugar causes cancer to grow faster. That is another common myth. So all cells, including cancer cells, depend on sugar, glucose, for energy, but sugar does not preferentially speed cancer growth, and avoiding sugar does not slow cancer growth. But you still shouldn't eat sugar, of course, sorry guys. When we're eating more refined foods, it usually leads to weight gain, and we know that being overweight or obese can increase your cancer risk. So don't fool yourself, it is not a health food, but sugar is not something we necessarily should avoid. And also, if someone were going to avoid sugar, that would usually put them on a more low-carb eating style, which is going to have its own set of problems. It's going to be very far away from plant-based in general. What about dairy? So dairy, not exactly a health food. So all animal-based foods contain sex hormones. That's estrogen, growth hormone. If you think about it, hormones are an animal feature, right? So the only source of hormones in our diet are from our animal-based foods. So dairy is associated with all sorts of hormonal conditions, acne, diminished male fertility, and especially prostate cancer. So it is due to casein and IGF-1, which are compounds found in dairy that promote the cancer process. So dairy helps to grow a cow to 1,000 pounds in its first year of life. It supports the growth of cows, and it also supports the growth of cancer cells. The American Cancer Society goes on to state that a high calcium intake, whether through supplements or foods, is linked to prostate cancer. Men should try to get, but not exceed, recommended levels of calcium, mainly through food sources. So dairy, of course, is great during infancy, but beyond that, we do have some evidence that it is going to be a cancer risk factor. What about soy? This is another common question we get. So soy does not increase cancer risk. So these 4 health organizations all agree that soy is not going to increase your cancer risk. So the confusion comes because soy contains a class of phytoestrogens. So those are plant estrogens that are called isoflavones. And so although they attach to the estrogen receptor, they do not have the same effect on the estrogen receptor that estrogen would have. So if you look at the research, consuming more soy is not going to increase someone's cancer risk. So how can I learn more? Oh, how can I really encompass all of cancer nutrition in 20 minutes? I cannot, but there are some wonderful resources you can check out for further reading. So Forks Over Knives is an excellent documentary. It's available on Amazon Prime, used to be on Netflix, not anymore. Wonderful place to start, especially if you're just getting your feet wet or if you're perhaps introducing this idea to family members. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, I love How Not to Die by Michael Greger. He is another colleague of mine within the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and he's also a primary care doctor in internal medicine. He has some wonderful chapters specifically on colon cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer in there. Really interesting going through the literature on diet and disease. If you're interested in looking at some of the other chronic disease, I don't have a whole lot of YouTubes, but I do have one on heart disease and one on diabetes if you want to sort of understand the nutrition behind each of those that you're welcome to check out. And I have a Facebook group, Food is Medicine Greenville, where I'll occasionally post articles and often post any local events that are coming up in Greenville related to the Food is Medicine theme. So thank you. If you're interested, have any further questions, etc., feel free to shoot me an email, beth.motley, M-O-T-L-E-Y, @prismahealth.org. And as a reminder, I am a normal doctor with Prisma. We accept insurance, and there's no need for a referral. I am on maternity leave right now, so not formally accepting new patients. So if you call, you'll probably be turned away, but if you shoot me an email, I'm happy to work with you. All right, and I'm going to hand over to Deb. Thank you very much.
All right, hello everyone. Thank you, Dr. Motley. My mother, father, brother, and husband are all cancer survivors. I'm also the mother of two wonderful kids who have type 1 diabetes, celiac, Hashimoto's, and Raynaud's. I say all that to tell you that my experience over my life has helped me appreciate the importance of choosing the right food for the right health issue. From the time I was a little kid, it's always fascinated me. I'm happy to be with you now and to help jumpstart your journey towards a plant-based diet. If you're already on this path, then maybe we can give you a couple tips, a few things that you can do, some recipes to add to your routine. In Dr. Motley's slides, you saw these, my mouth was watering, these tacos and bowls and things that had a variety of color and flavor and antioxidants that she mentioned, rounding out your nutritional value. I know from my customers and from my somewhat very picky family that planning, shopping, preparing the food can sometimes interfere with eating healthy, and it doesn't have to be that way. There's a few tips that we can give you. One of them is when you go to the store, and I always have my little vegetable props, buy two. So buy 2 heads of cauliflower and make 3 or 4 dishes from that. So the first dish that you can make with cauliflower, it's one of my favorites, is turmeric roasted cauliflower. It comes out, and I don't know if you can see colors and everything in here, but it's got this bright yellow. All you do is cut up the cauliflower, add turmeric. I add a little garlic. That's just garlic in just about everything. You can use vegan mayonnaise, or you can use vegan butter. Add a little bit of dry mustard seed, and you got to really massage it in there. So if you have gloves around, everybody has them in the pandemic right now, put those on, otherwise your hands will be yellow for a couple days, and roast it for about 15 minutes. And that's a great side dish for you. Then cauliflower rice is another wonderful option. You know, some people are doing the elimination diet, kind of rotating out to see what may cause inflammation in their diet and choosing to eliminate grains. So cauliflower rice, you just run it through your food processor, put it in the broiler for 10 minutes, and you've got a great low carb, if you're looking at carbs, and grain-free option. Cauliflower steak, another little prop here, is a great dish replacement. So a lot of us, especially in the West in America, are used to meat, starch, and 1 or 2 vegetables, and then maybe some bread. So using a main ingredient, using some vegetable as that kind of meat, your chicken or your salmon or your fish, whatever it is, helps kind of round out, get you visually ready to adopt more of a plant-based diet. Then at the end of the week or the middle of the week, when you're done with your cauliflower and you're like, enough, I'm done with this, take all of what's left over, put it in a crock pot, throw in some bouillon or broth. I like better than bouillon, the vegetable one. And they've now recently come out with a roasted garlic and a roasted onion. So it's not just the one flavor that you're going to get. And add some lima beans and let it cook for a little while, puree it, and you've got this great cauliflower lima bean soup. Even kids like it, trust me, and I have some picky kids in my house. Another option, another simple thing would be to buy a couple butternut steaks, and that's a great winter vegetable. So right now you can take get the long ones with a long, thinner neck, and peel the neck, slice it really thin, about 1/4 inch, broil it for a couple minutes, make some vegan pesto or regular pesto, whatever your choice is. And it's kind of a chip and dip. It's a great appetizer if you're coming in from work and you need something. It'll keep you from going from that to that salty preservative or the salty snack kind of idea. Take the bowl after you cut the neck off of the butternut. People will eat anything in a bowl. It doesn't have to be a bread bowl. Panera's really made it famous with that bread bowl idea, but you can do it with any kind of squash. It can be an acorn squash or butternut squash. Put soup in it or stuff it with quinoa, and you've got a nice, fast, easy dinner. So you're using the whole vegetable. Butternut steak, similar to the cauliflower steak, let it become the centerpiece, the main meat, as you would, of your plate. And you would take a little knife and score it a few times on each side, make it about an inch thick, broil it or bake it, put it in a panini press, and you get really nice grill marks on it. Serve it with some greens and some other vegetables, and you've got a complete meal. And then the last one, if you have a spiralizer, and I know they're available everywhere now, so just get a nice sturdy one, $20, $30 spiralizer. You can spiralize butternut squash, you can spiralize carrots, you can even spiralize rutabaga, different vegetables. And zucchini, as much as I love zucchini noodles, they're great, lightly raw, lightly cooked. The squashes will keep their bite. So you can saute them with garlic and onion. You can put them in some marinara, and you've got a really nice texture. So especially when you're moving to the plant-based life, the textures and the heat versus cold components really come into play to where you come alive from the colors and the textures and the flavors of the food. And then again, middle of the week, end of the week, you take all your leftover squash, throw it into a pot. I like to add coconut milk and some curry paste and the bouillon, and you've got a great soup. So a blender and a food processor are really good to have on hand. You can even buy one of those ones that's combined, so you've got both of them, doesn't take up much space. At Sunbelly, we like to let the produce speak for itself. Similar to Topsoil, we rely on these great local farmers. The upstate has got fantastic climate. We've got a long growing season. We've got a very diverse growing season. We work closely with the farmers, and there's a higher nutritional value when it's grown here and shipped, shorter distance rather than across the country or out of the country and brought and sitting on a shelf for a long time. We design our recipes with a nutritional balance in mind. So that's kind of going on behind the scenes. We also use a lot of lemon, a lot of garlic, ginger, turmeric, and apple cider vinegar. So those are blended in, the anti-inflammatory agents of each of those. Dark spore mushrooms is our mushroom grower right now, and we all get chills when they come in. It's a living, beautiful piece of artwork that you could just set on your table. And we end up making most of it into a wild mushroom pho with ginger, garlic. But you can take your mushrooms and use them as a meat replacement while you're transitioning, or once you transition, or even just once a week to substitute. Instead of grilled chicken, you put a mushroom on the grill, or you saute them or stuff them. There's just a variety of things we like to do. Bragg's liquid aminos is a really good choice to have as a flavor enhancer for them. They also make a coconut Bragg's if you're eliminating soy. Some people are doing that. And it's also a gluten-free option, which especially for my family is very important. For some of you, the journey will be a gradual one. My mom, my dad, my brother, and my husband all continue to eat meat. My dad got cancer, started his cancer journey 50 some years ago, and nutrition wasn't even on the radar. It wasn't in the discussion. He's also since then had a few very significant autoimmune diseases that limit the amount of raw food that he thinks he can eat. My mom got breast cancer 11 years ago. The only thing they told her was to reduce soy. As a result, she got a very serious dairy allergy. And in that process of cutting out her nightly ice cream and her morning cheese sandwich or whatever she ate, she's found that she feels a lot better eating mostly plants. She does eat a little bit of meat, just, sometimes being in a house where you're cooking for one, it's easier. You go ahead and you find yourself cooking the same thing for two. But she fills most of her plate with just the plant-based and finds that does help her. My husband, if anybody's been to the cafe, you see he's a writer. He has an office here, ends up coming out when it's busy and helping out in the kitchen a bit. And he really doesn't have a choice. Breakfast and lunch is going to be plant-based. And at night he does substitute, or he'll put a piece of salmon or a piece of chicken on top of his plant-based meal. So there are ways. We all have our own path. If you do eat meat, just let it fill a little bit less of your plate. We have the things we learned in school about what percentage of your plate is supposed to be meat and grains, and play around with that. See if you can find a way to add in a new vegetable. I always tell people in the kitchen, there is no strict rule. We look at recipes and we think we have to follow them exactly. One cauliflower might be this big this week and this big the next week. So let yourself experiment. If it messes up, make it into a soup. You know, you're not going to go wrong, and have fun with it. It takes about 6 weeks for your taste buds to change, is what we usually find. So give yourself patience. You know, if you find that you still have the cravings, let that be part of your journey. After a while, that you don't give things up, they'll just sort of fall away. Many people don't like to cook and don't have time to cook, and that is okay. We all have different lifestyles, we all have different goals. We all have different goals and reasons that we're here tonight. Sunbelly and other restaurants, we offer meal plans, and we offer pickups and other ways that you can supplement, either working with Dr. Motley or working with somebody else. There's a variety of people that you can turn to if it's a nutritionist or even your personal trainer. Somebody get some ideas, or you know, talk to your doctor. And if you have a set goal, bring that to whoever you have doing your meal plan. So we have spreadsheets taped up on our walls of different people's what they can eat, what they can't eat, and we'll do, like Dr. Motley said, the functional eater. They might want everything set in a container. All they have to do is take it out of their fridge and put it in the oven. Our other customers may choose to get 6 soups and 6 salads and a couple side dishes, and they may not include that with their meat or animal products meals, but it's going to supplement and bring more vegetables into their day. If you're wondering about dessert, the answer is yes. Like Dr. Motley said, you reduce sugar. We don't use any refined sugar here. We use a lot of dates and figs. In place of eggs, we use applesauce and prunes. You can make a lot of really fun and interesting, more nutritional desserts with that. My grandmother used to make this fantastic chocolate pudding, and I love this chocolate pudding. And you can make one if you have a good blender, some ripe avocados, almond milk, and cacao or carob, maybe a little maple syrup if you like it sweet. Just blend it up, it'll make a fantastic pudding. We make looks like a Reese's peanut butter cup that is chia seeds, almond butter, maple syrup, and vegan chocolate. And our bars look like, if you ate those, I used to love Fig Newtons as a kid, but I hated that cookie bit. So it's like the inside of the Fig Newton. It's just dates and apricots and almonds. So there are ways to get that. Our fellow restaurateurs invite you. We want to have a return. Everybody does. We're all tired of the pandemic. Greenville's full of warm environments. There's outdoor seating. Call ahead to your restaurants. Let them know if you have dietary restrictions. I promise you, everybody will work with you to the best of their ability, but be specific. And with that, I'm going to turn you over to Wendy from Topsoil. And Adam, thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. I am Wendy Lynam, and I'm joined here by Chef Adam Cook. We're at Topsoil Kitchen and Market in Travelers Rest, and we're very pleased to be here with you today. I myself am a cancer survivor. A lot of years ago, I had this beautiful baby, and then I got a cancer diagnosis. And so began my journey to learn about plants, learn about plant-based eating. I had to do everything I could to be there, and I got lucky. Everything fell into place. So it became very, very important to me to learn about how my diet can help me kick this, and that's just how my journey began. And then many years later, my paths crossed with my current partners at Topsoil right now. Patrick and Adam started Topsoil Supper Club as a plant-based supper club, and it was a monthly pop-up. And they had a chef, a sommelier, a coffee professional, and a farmer. And I was drawn in. So I went to several of these, and it was just a really unique experience. And what this man can do with vegetables, it just drew me in. So I would just go to these, and one thing led to another, and we decided to make Topsoil Supper Club a restaurant. And so now we have a farm as well. We grow our own food, and our mission is to connect people with their food. We buy from local farmers who are our friends, and there are no secrets among farmers. We all help each other. We all share. We appreciate what goes into growing beautiful vegetables, and then we turn them over to chefs, and they create something special. Vegetables do not need to be boring. Now, our restaurant is plant forward and protein particular. And everything that's on your plate, a lot of thought has gone into where we source that. So we do have beautiful local vegetables that will blow your mind. And we have some proteins, but it's with proteins, it's very local usually. And then it's very important how they're raised. And many of the proteins are actually plant-based eaters. So you are what you eat eats. And that really informs our decisions. So we try to create an experience at Topsoil, whether it's a dine-in experience, we have a beautiful porch on the Swamp Rabbit Trail, or it's takeout, or we've continued the Topsoil Supper Club. And last night we had that. It's the second Wednesday of every month, and we invite you all to join us. So every month we'll do a new theme, and last night's theme was, Adam?
Dark spore mushrooms.
We also are big fans of dark spore mushrooms. And Adam created some really lovely dishes. And then we also have a plant-based meal program called Planted, to make it more convenient for people to eat a plant-based diet. There's different options for you. You can get 3, 5, or 7 meals a week, and we have local pickup for that on Sundays and Mondays. And it helps people eat plant-based in a very delicious way, but a very convenient way. So as you begin to become more plant curious, maybe this is a new concept for you. We encourage you to try different restaurants and do your own thing. Now, one of our favorite vegetables is carrots, and these beautiful baby carrots were grown by one of our farmer friends. And carrots are very easy to plant. So if you are considering your own garden, we encourage you to plant some carrots. There's so many things that you can do with carrots. And
lots of carrots.
Yeah, we love our carrots. But you can start planting in March, and hopefully you will have some success with that. Now, Adam has a way with adding flavor to vegetables that he thinks is simple, but I want to share with you and turn it over to Adam so he can tell you how to add flavor to make your vegetables.
Well, I think for tonight's purposes, we were going to focus on the mushrooms and the broth that is a base. We call it a dashi, but there's no actual meat in it. But to mimic that, we kind of add other flavoring agents. For instance, we rely heavily on dried spices. I find that star anise whole and cinnamon stick, especially when combined with any kind of onion, can really mimic a meaty flavor. For this purpose, we add a good bit of ginger. We all know that's good for us. And then, sorry to leave the camera. We also use kombu. So this is dried sea kelp. This is a really great natural umami cheater, subs for the bonito flake, essentially, that you would normally put in a broth like this. When I start a stock like this, we basically shred everything, and that includes all the wasted parts that you would normally get rid of. Save all those things. Bring everything up from cold, give it a quick simmer, toast your spices if you can, and you're pretty much good to go. We steep it like tea, so we don't ever boil it. We bring it just up to temp, and then we cover it, let it sit for an hour on the stove top. And I think we've outlined most of that in the recipe, but feel free to call us with any questions.
And what do you do with the broth?
So once you have the broth, you have options. What we do, I'm a big fan of white shoyu. This is a really light soy sauce. You can find at most Asian grocery stores. And this is a yuzu juice that we kind of just add a little bit of zip to. And what I always tell people is pony up for the good stuff, don't be cheap. And let me know if you need a source for that.
Good. Thank you, Adam. So that's a little secret from Chef Adam Cook. Adam was nominated this year for a James Beard for Best Chef Southeast. And it just goes to show you that vegetables can really be delicious and blow minds. So come check us out. And we invite you to visit the restaurant and check out some of our prepared meals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Hey, Rose, turn it back over to you.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Wendy and Adam, and as well to each of you who submitted questions in the chat room. We have a number of questions for Dr. Motley as well as for Deb and for Wendy. I'm going to start with Dr. Motley with a question that came in regards to, can a whole foods lifestyle change or mitigate inherited genetic risk?
To an extent, yes. So it very much depends on what gene mutation you have. So I like to work hand in hand with the oncology group because I am not an oncologist and I'm not always going to know those exact
What causes
percentages.
insulin resistance?
Oops, I'm sorry.
Or what causes
That's
diabetes?
my YouTube in the background. Hold on.
Most people associate sugar.
Okay, sorry, my bad. It really depends on what the inherited mutation is. There are definitely some that are going to significantly increase your cancer risk, but thankfully we can work with oncology and they have options to help mitigate that risk. I would like to say no matter what genetic cards you are dealt, there is always a strategy when it comes to playing the game in terms of a dietary approach. So the answer is it really depends, and that's why I like to work hand in hand with oncology so we can work together, both approaches, the medical approach and the dietary approach, to minimizing risk.
Thank you very much. I have a question that I will begin with asking Deb, and then I'm going to go to Wendy. Deb, the question from the participant is, do you have top 5 recommendations of spices that you particularly enjoy using?
Oh, yes. At least 5. Garlic and ginger tend to be, across the board. And turmeric, I'm a big black pepper fan. I think it adds a lot of, it's kind of like the forgotten spice. If you're going to use turmeric, and add some black pepper, it helps you absorb it better anyway. So you're getting both there. And cumin, I love cumin and coriander. They say that 3% of the population has an extra taste bud. And so they think that cilantro and coriander taste like soap. They also tend to be the people that hated broccoli as a kid, but we're all told to love broccoli. So eventually you like broccoli. So don't beat yourself up if you don't like cilantro. Find something else. But yeah, play around with spices. There are a ton of Indian groceries and Asian markets here. Go wander around them. Follow people around, see what they're putting in a basket and try it out. That's the best way to get into spices.
That's great. Thank you very much, Deb. I just want to comment, there are a number of questions that are coming in through the chat room. And I want to assure you and remind you that tomorrow we are going to post the video of today's program. So for those of you who are trying to capture the recipes and the ingredients, you'll be able to look at the video again in its entirety. And as well, we are going to post all of the recipes that were shared with you this evening. There are also additional questions, and I'm going to start with Wendy and Chef Adam. The question is, will Chef Adam be offering classes for people to learn how to cook?
I just got an elbow. So yes. The answer is yes.
Very good. We'll be looking forward to
It'd be
when.
really easy. We could just do it like this. That's fine.
That's true. We could do it like this. And Deb, the same question for you. There's a question about whether you will be offering cooking classes in the future.
Yes, we used to hold one about every 6 weeks, pre-pandemic, like a lot of people. And we hope to get back to it. We've thought about doing virtual ones. I like to have everybody, as I'm sure Topsoil does too, they're hands-on and people are making stuff and doing things with you. So hopefully we'll be getting back to that very soon. We also used to go into people's homes and do, if they had almost like a supper club or a dinner party, and we would go in and do them there. So we hope to get back to that quickly.
That's great. Thank you. There are a number of comments that have come in relative to the slideshow that Dr. Motley used. And again, I want to remind everybody on the call that those slides will appear in the recording, and you'll be able to stop the recording to capture any data from those slides that would be particularly helpful to you. As well, the question for Dr. Motley in relation to the slides and what she shared is, when will or does Prisma Health already offer this information to be included with patient visits or access for patients today?
So lifestyle medicine is a relatively new field. Let's see, it became a subspecialty in 2017. And so we're 4 years in now. So we are having more and more providers that are certified in lifestyle medicine. So it is coming together. We're seeing many more classes, many more resources within Prisma. But there's just a lot of variety into how I might approach it, as opposed to a cardiologist might approach it and an oncologist might approach it. So we are seeing more and more, but we're not quite as cohesive as I think we will be 10 years from now.
Very good. Thank you. And I'm going to ask this question to Dr. Motley, but then I'm going to ask both Deb and Wendy to comment, but I will go from Dr. Motley next to Wendy and Adam. The question is with regard to what exactly are considered to be deli meats. So for example, if somebody were to order roasted turkey breast at a grocery store, is that considered a deli meat? And are there any comments that you can offer with regard to when deli meats and which deli meats, if any, are acceptable?
So a processed meat in general is any meat that's been preserved by curing, salting, smoking, drying, or canning. So I guess if you were, Thanksgiving and you have some leftover turkey and you slice it real thin, that doesn't really earn the processed meat status, not that kind of sandwich meat. And when you get to, is one meat better than the other, you're basically just, which is the lesser evil? Honestly, you're better off just exploring plant-based, and I'll let our chefs go more into this, but things like mushrooms that are meaty and eggplant, you won't miss the meat once you start exploring some of the other sandwich ingredients. I'll let the chefs take over from there.
Why don't we go to Chef Adam?
Yeah. I would agree 100%. I think what you're dealing with is added salted water, mostly for weight, which you pay for and you don't need. That's not going to happen with vegetables. If you can tolerate a little more salt, there are many ways now to do that. But soy sauces, those white soyas that we use a lot, as well as the natural kombus. There's a lot of natural sea salt. It's not iodized. It's not processed.
Didn't you make a Reuben with beets?
We did make a Reuben with beets. Yes.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that sounds great. Deb, can you offer some additional comments?
Yeah, I agree with it. We're all mushroom crazy right now. And we grind up even the base of the wild mushrooms that we all use, and use that as a meat replacement in chili or in bolognese. And then you're not using a frozen processed soy option, and there are some great ones out there. But feel free to explore what the plant world has. And turkey and cheese sandwiches are kind of a staple for lunches in America. And so it takes a little bit. Give yourself some space, give yourself some time work through what it is that your goal is. Come back to what your goal is.
That's great. Thank you very much. Melissa Aguilara from the Center for Integrative Oncology and Survivorship is on the line, and she is a participant in developing these programs. And she indicates that there are virtual plant-based nutrition classes and cooking classes specific to cancer survivors currently available through Prisma Health and the Center for Integrative Oncology and Survivorship. So perhaps we can call your attention to that with the materials that we'll post tomorrow. I'm going to offer one more question to Dr. Motley, and then we are going to wrap up the program with a few additional announcements and information that will be helpful for you. The comment is, it's hard to be on a low carb diet if you are whole food plant-based. Do you have any suggestions for individuals who are carb sensitive? And certainly feel free to call a friend and Chef Adam, Wendy, or Deb.
Yes. So I'm assuming, hold on a sec, I'm gonna share my screen because I have a few resources to share. Okay, share. So there are ways we can improve our carbohydrate tolerance. This is a huge subject. I tried to make a YouTube to really simplify it. And this is whether you have diabetes or you are carb sensitive in some other way. So if you just search Beth Motley diabetes, that will cover the topic. If you want sort of like the 101, this is a really great book, Neil Barnard's Program for Reversing Diabetes. And it'll even go through, for someone who's plant-based, some foods that are lower on the glycemic index. For example, a sweet potato may be a better option than a white potato for someone who is carb conscious. And then if you're well immersed in this subject already, 201 would be the Mastering Diabetes book. Wonderful, wonderful, gets into a lot more detail on plant-based nutrition and diabetes, carbohydrates, etc. While I have the microphone, just wanted to show you guys this also. This is the booklet that Rose has referred to that is going to be made available. It's the Plant-Based Nutrition Quick Start Guide. It is a wonderful resource. It's not going to let me flip through these pages fast enough, but oh, nope, sorry, that's the Spanish one. Anyway, as you go through, oh, here we go. I just got to scroll down. The Quick Start Guide has all sorts of wonderful resources for someone starting out, grocery shopping lists, tips on how to transition to a plant-based diet, how to go out to restaurants, etc. So that's just a great, great, great comprehensive resource if you're getting started. I will hand back to Rose.
Thank you very much, Dr. Motley. And at this time, in order to honor our time commitment to all of the participants, I'd like to bring the program to a close with a few announcements. First, for those of you who are joining the call this evening and pre-registered to do so, we promised that there would be a drawing for 2 tickets to the March community dinner, the plant-based community dinner at Topsoil. And the assistant director here at the Cancer Survivors Park, where I'm coming to you from, Laura Coleman-Nichols, just chose the winner randomly. And the lucky winner with the drum roll is Tammy Miller. And Tammy, we are looking forward to welcoming you at Topsoil, and I know that you'll enjoy it. And perhaps, Wendy, would you like to announce, since you're sitting on screen, about what you're offering for everybody else?
I'd love to. Thank you, Rose.
Sure.
We are also offering a 10% ticket discount to all of the call participants today for our March 10th Plant-Based Supper Club. And the link will be in the show notes, and you can use the code PLANTCurious, all caps, to get your 10% discount when you buy your tickets through Eventbrite.
That's great. Excellent. We will be posting the nutrition guide to answer the question that just came in on the chat room. The nutrition guide that Dr. Motley shared with you on screen just a moment ago will be included tomorrow, along with this program, the recipes, contact information for the restaurants and for Dr. Motley, as well as other information that was shared with you this evening to make it easier for you to have these resources at your fingertips. So watch for that information at the Cancer Survivors Park website tomorrow afternoon. And you will be able to share that with anybody that you think may be interested in learning more about the things that you learned about this evening. As well, we encourage and invite you to attend any of our programs in the Cancer Prevention Series, which is monthly. And our next program will be held in March, and that program will cover integrative medicine and its role in cancer prevention. Family and integrative medicine physician, Dr. Mary Britton Blankenship, here on your screen, of Spruce MD will present. You'll learn about integrative medicine that takes account of the whole person, including all aspects of lifestyle, with its emphasis on the therapeutic relationship between practitioner and patient, and the informed evidence used to determine appropriate therapies. At this time, I'd like to thank all of our presenters this evening and each of you in the audience for attending. The questions from the various participants with regard to ingredients will be answered on the website with the information tomorrow. Many of you are very interested in the ingredients and the recipes, and understandably so, it's dinner time for many of you. So I hope that you'll enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you again in subsequent programs. Thank you.